welcome into this week's episode of Craze's Corner. You guys are definitely going to want to stay tuned. We're going to be talking about some guys you're going to want to try and trade away if you have them on your Dynasty football team. If you want to hear some guys that we're trying to buy, you can go check out last week's episode where we talked about Dynasty guys that we're trying to trade for. This week's going to be trade away. But we're going to get into some quick news stories first. The biggest news, you're going to hear about it all throughout the offseason, all throughout next year. Tom Brady announced his retirement. Great career. He's definitely the greatest of all time. I don't think there's really any debate. He's one of few athletes that can say that they are the greatest of all time at their specific sport, with really no debate. You got the LeBron and MJ debate in basketball, but in football, I think it's definitely got to be just Tom Brady for now. And then we have the Broncos have been posted up for sale. So we will see what happens with that. They will likely have a new owner possibly before next season. And then we have the controversial one. Washington has come out with their new name. They're going to be the Washington Commanders. We have the jerseys over here. They're not bad. I like the matte helmets, but the black uniforms putting that W right on the front kind of ruins the whole look they got going for them. Not a super big fan of the name. I definitely think that there was other creative options they could have gone with. There are some issues, like Red Wolves was one thing that people kind of tossed around. There was some, copyright issues with the whole Wolves and Timberwolves type thing. So I kind of understand that, but I definitely think, there are some other options they could have gone with, but I want to know what you guys think. So let us know using the Media app. The Media app is a virtual press conferencing app that allows you to host your own virtual press conference from your phone. You can post it straight to any of your social media platforms. You can tag us. So tag me at Pro Football Craze or tag Media at Media MPC on any socials. We'll see it. It's definitely something you want to check out. It's available on the Google Play and the App Store. And now let's welcome in our guests. We have Zach from Ocean State, and we have Will from Media. Thanks for joining, guys.
Hey, man, thanks.
Let's get your thoughts on the Washington Commanders football team. What are we thinking?
Go ahead, Zach.
I like him. I think the hate is – so I put up a poll, super overwhelmingly negative as far as I put up a fire emoji and a trash emoji, and the trash emoji, killed it. So, I personally like them. I think they'll grow on us over time, just like all the other teams that come in, either expansion teams or rebrands. We all, I didn't like the Falcons at first. Now I think they're super clean. But I'm interested. I think maybe what we say, the logo, probably our only complaint here.
Yeah, the W that they added a couple lines to it and called it a new logo. That's
Dan Snyder's an evil genius. He's got these fans lined up. They'll buy all this new stuff. And they'll release the logo 2 or 3 years from now, and they'll make them go out and buy all whole new stuff again. So let's hear it for the Washington football team Commanders marketing.
Yeah, let's just hope they fix the stadium too. That way their fans stop falling. Maybe that was a plot to take out a divisional quarterback, but
their stadium has lots of problems, not just with the railings. It's probably the worst stadium in the NFL.
Oh.
From what I've heard, I haven't been there, but I've heard that it's absolutely terrible. But let's get into our dynasty aspect of this show. We're going to be talking about 3 players each who we are trying to trade away if they are on our teams. I'm going to start it off with a guy who I actually traded away in Zach's fantasy football league. And I'm going to be talking about James Conner. For me, I think James Conner's value has peaked now. Depending on what happens in the offseason, I don't think he'll be in a better situation than what he was this year. I don't think he's going to go anywhere and be the bell cow. He's coming off a season where he finished as the running back 5, so you can definitely capitalize on that. When you're doing some deals, be like, you want the RB5 from last year, talk him up, get some value out of him, because I don't think he will put up, the touchdowns where he had 15 rushing touchdowns. I don't think he'll put up anywhere near that. Even if he does re-sign, I think they'll probably bring back Chase Edmonds again. And they'll probably be kind of more of the same, but I think they'll lean more to throwing the ball. Edmonds, I think, is a better running back because he can do more. He's more versatile. We see him to be on the field more. but we'll see how that works out. But for me, I'm not excited about owning James Conner in Dynasty football. If he's on my team, I kind of see him as like a bench option. But if you can trade him to someone who is running back needy, someone who will definitely who's trying to win now, who might want to capitalize on trying to get the running back 5 from last year. So that's what I think. I think if you can get anything, if you can get, second round pick in that range for it, I'd definitely do that. And if you can get anything else more, definitely go for it. Go all out. If you can squeeze a little extra out of someone, that's definitely what you're going to want to do. But yeah, for me, I'm definitely trying to trade away James Conner anywhere that I have him. What do you guys think, Zach? Do you agree?
Yep, 100%. He's definitely when we were, picking guys for this segment, he was definitely on the potential list. I think he's still somewhat young, right? So I'm just going to play the counterpart, I guess. So he's 26, so he's not terribly old. You do have all the the unfortunate cancer stuff before even coming into the league. So not that you don't want to ding him for that, but there are things on the resume that could put up some red flags. But last year, he had like 18 touchdowns or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
So it was so out of the ordinary for him. So clearly an outlier season. But I think the Cardinals will probably do the same thing they did last year. It seems to be their thing, right? 8 games on fire, 8 games they suck. So if James Conner, is he stay? He's in Arizona this year, right? He's not a free agent, is he?
I think he's a free agent.
I think he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think him and Edmonds are both free agents, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I don't have that up, but I'll look it up right now.
So that's another thing too. If a lot of these players too, they'll kind of factor into this. Whether you move them before they go to a different team. If he goes somewhere where he's now like the 3rd string running back for whatever reason, he is probably losing his value. So it's a good trade away now, candidate for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that, Zach. I think the one thing the NFL taught fantasy players this year is really the running back depth was much deeper than any of us ever thought. I mean, some of the guys that we're talking about at the end of the season weren't even drafted, that were key components to championship runs. So to me, the moral of the story I learned is if I got someone who wants them bad enough, give me a decent value in return, I'm going to move an established guy, especially running back at older they are. They're over 25. They're in their midway through their first full contract after their rookie contract. Yep. Yeah, I'm probably getting ready to move him if I can get a good deal for him.
Right, because he's probably looking for that bag with this contract, right? Because it's probably his last one that he'll get. So
so currently pulled up just a basic dynasty trade value chart. They have James Conner ranked around the Ronald Jones, Ramondre Stevenson, Darrell Henderson, Melvin Gordon, Alexander Madison, Rashad Penny. And I'd definitely rather have some of those other guys like Penny, Madison, Stevenson. So in that range, I think you can probably get more for him, depending on who's in your league. As I said, I got more than a first-round pick for him. So, depending on who's in your league, if you have someone who does like to look at the stats, they see RB5, you can definitely, there's a chance you can capitalize on that. But Zach, let's talk about your first player. I'll let you introduce.
So I'm going with King Henry, Derrick Henry. It seems a little chalk, right? But 29 years old when the season starts. Yeah. You had the injury last year. So clearly he has shown that he is not completely indestructible. All of his mileage is behind him. All of his production is behind him. I don't think his ceiling or his value rather will be higher than it is right now. Will he go to a championship team and maybe get them a trophy this year? Maybe. I could definitely see that happening, right? He's still going to be a high first-round pick in redraft leagues. But the thing with running backs in Dynasty is you always get out maybe a year. Try not to be 2 years, but if you can get out a year early, which I think that's exactly what Derrick Henry is. If he does have one more good year this season, I think it will be one of his last. Either that or he's the Tom Brady of running backs, because he'll be going into his 30s, and there's no way he's going to be as valuable as he is right now. I don't see a 31-year-old running back. You could get a haul for Henry right now if you trade to the team that is like either running back needy or is only like one piece away from going to the championship. So if you can find that person in your league and, they have a squad already, they're like, yeah, I'll take Derrick Henry too. You could probably get, I would imagine, a minimum early first round pick and some, depending on who you're trading to.
Yeah, I agree. And I definitely think that's something you have to look at when you're doing dynasty trades. You got to kind of look at what the team you're trying to trade with needs. As Zach said, with a Derrick Henry, an older running back, you're going to look for someone who is going to be competing this year. So, you want to look for someone who's trying to win because, as Zach said, he's older, but he did kind of start his career later on as his first 2 years there. He was not really as involved as some other running backs. So he does have that going for him. I guess he's got less wear and tear on his body than some other running backs who are normally done by the age of 29. So he's got that. But as Zach said, you definitely have to look for, and especially if you're not going to be competing this year and Derrick Henry's sitting on your roster, there's absolutely no reason you should be on your roster come the start of the season. What are your thoughts, Will?
I'm with you on that. I'm with Zach. I want to try to get out about a year early, or I'll even take 2 years early. Just because, I'd rather have a running back coming up or an asset that's coming up than keep someone just a little too long. Because to me, especially in Dynasty, it's the quickest way to kill your team, man, is to be just good enough to be near the top of your league, but then not good enough to be able to recover, right? Or bad enough to be able to recover. And, it'll be interesting. I think Derrick Henry is a very interesting person to put on the table right now and to see what you could get, because I think Zach's right. I think people overpay right now. You put him on the trade list, like he's available. I think you'd be surprised what you would get because people are still looking back.
Right. And he came back in the playoffs. I think that was another plus too for his value right now. If he didn't come back at all throughout the season, probably wouldn't be as valuable.
Yeah, and I'm definitely all for trading him away. And if you are maybe that one piece away from winning, maybe you trade away your first round pick for Derrick Henry. That's definitely something that you got to look at from the other side. If you do need that piece, Derrick Henry could definitely be that guy for you. But Will, let's talk about your first player here.
Stephen Jones said this week, big contracts bring big expectations about Amari Cooper. Bye. I'm out. Because to me, that they're moving him. They're already trying to leverage him. That's a leverage statement by ownership on him. And Amari Cooper, I don't think, is one to sit there and be like, you're going to publicly leverage me to try to get me to lower my pay. Nah, he's gone. And so God knows where he's going to get traded to. And if it's the Jets. So if I can get something for him right now that's halfway decent, see it.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine Jerry trading him to a interdivisional rival, so even the wide receiver needy teams like, Philly and things like that. It'd be one of those cases where it's almost not guaranteed, but there's a higher percentage of him going to a landing spot that's not as good as Dallas than if he were to stay in Dallas. So I think you're right. If he does move, and if he goes to even if it comes to Miami for some crazy reason, right? People are gonna be like, Tua, I don't like Tua, so versus Dak. So
So maybe there's a Cowboy fan in your league that thinks, nah, they're gonna keep him. Everything's rosy. Ain't nothing changing.
I'm just pulled up. I got my just
and you're the
basic
closest
chart here.
Closest source, Will. So
guys around Amari Cooper. You got DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Pittman, Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, Devonta Smith. Oof. I would be hard pressed to take Amari Cooper over any of those guys. I definitely have the other guys around that area because he is getting older and you don't know where he's going to play, as Will said. So I'm definitely on board with that because too many uncertainties, injury history. Even if he stays on Dallas, there's a lot of weapons in that offense, right? So
yeah,
he's a good package piece. Like he's still got a name value. Like people know
Yeah.
of Amari Cooper. So if you have to, bundle something together, you're like, all right, I'll throw in Amari Cooper. Come on, bro. He's the wide receiver too on a high powered offense. You can
You
kind of
might be
butter
even
it
be
up
able
that
to
way.
sell these wide receiver 1 on a high-powered offense if you're a really good salesman,
Right.
That CD Lamb guy, he's not very good. This Amari Cooper guy, though, he's the real deal. You want him on your roster.
I mean, if he got traded to New England, you could sell now and maybe regret it a little bit, because I think if that's the one team, if Dallas moved to New England, that people may be like, oh, now there's a wide receiver 1 in New England. But I'm trying to think. There's not a lot of teams that you think about. There's not a lot of teams that are wide receiver desperate that are good, that also has the cap space to bring in Amari Cooper at his contract as the number 1.
Right.
So
yep. So you're right. So
Right.
most likely he'll go to a worse team just with more capital.
Jets.
Man.
See, I think they learned their lesson. They got too much money up in Corey Davis there. I don't think they'll be making a move, but
that's a dynasty. That's a former dynasty number 1 overall pick for the youngins. That's wild to look back. So we say trade for these first round picks, but you got to remember, for me, last year was my league's first rookie draft we had, and we were spoiled with Jamar Chase and Najee Harris and Jalen Waddle. I'm probably missing guys, but it's not always like that every year. So with all this trading we're talking about, keep that in mind.
Yeah, for me, in my main dynasty league, I'm coming off a win. But I have kind of valued draft picks less just because of the uncertainty. And that's why I haven't made a first round pick in that league yet. But I have been able to come away with guys in the draft like Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, Justin Herbert, and those kind of guys in the past years, which have been second and third round guys.
Right.
So for me, depending on what kind of situation your team is in, if you are in a position to, if you can get rid of your draft picks and get some valuable assets, guys who you already know are going to be good.
Yep.
That's the way I build my dynasty teams if I'm in a spot to compete. So that's definitely something I'm looking for. But we're going to move on to my next player, who is another running back, age currently 27. I'm going to be talking about Leonard Fournette. I love the guy, and I love the player, and I was so happy when he went to Tampa because I thought he was going to have his opportunity to shine after everything that happened in Jacksonville. He did shine this year, finishing as the PPR running back 6, and he still missed the last few games of the season, so he definitely could have been higher. Tom Brady's gone, and Fournette is a free agent as well, I'm pretty sure. So, he's got that uncertainty. There is a lot of running backs who are going to be free agents this year. I think we're going to see a lot more of the 2 running back tandems. I don't think he can be put in a better situation than where he was this year. I don't think there's any team which would put him in a better position with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers did last year. This is another guy kind of like James Conner, where I think you might be able to sell high off of what he did last year.
Yep.
And I don't see him as a key piece as like a Derrick Henry, where, we talked about him earlier. I don't see Fournette as being a key piece to someone who's trying to compete now. And I don't see him being a key piece to someone who's trying to rebuild. So for me, if he's on my team, I'm looking at different avenues, trying to see if there is any interest, put him up on the trade block. Obviously, don't give him away for nothing because he is still a talented running back. But, look for avenues. As I said, Tom Brady being gone, that really hurts him if he was to stay in Tampa. There isn't that, receiving upside, which made him the PPR running back 6. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking to move Leonard Fournette. If he's on my team, Zach, what do you think about Leonard Fournette? Are you feeling the same if you can get rid of him?
I'm going to say yes and no. Just to kind of give the both side perspective, I was actually talking to a buddy of mine about this, the whole Buccaneers, because I think the whole Buccaneers in general are an interesting group of players to have, and where their values are now and going into this first unknown land without Tom Brady and without virtually, I would say, I think 30% of that roster is going to be a flip. And who knows if Bruce Arians even sticks around,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of unknown there. So with that being said, for your personal self, yes, makes sense to get rid of Leonard Fournette. However, I think the news of Tom Brady retiring is going to make it tough right now. But overall, the process is right, So I guess, again, this is more a specific thing. So if you're looking at that guy that's one running back away from a championship run, that's the guy you go after. Let him pull up the column of all the receiving work he had, which,
you can
you're
sell
exactly
him on the
smart,
fact that
right?
Trask is going to need a check down option,
Exactly. Hype up Trask, so yeah, for sure. I agree. I think it'll be tough right now, but who knows? There could be some hype going into the preseason.
There definitely could be. Looking, so I'm just going to talk about some guys who are valued under Leonard Fournette. Right now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think I'd rather have. Not super hyped about that. Kareem Hunt, Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, Michael Carter, A.J. Dillon, Tony Pollard. And the list goes on. There's some guys definitely around there. And then guys who are just a little bit above him. Saquon Barkley is ranked just a little bit above him right now. J.K. Dobbins is ranked just a little bit above him right now. And so is Cam Akers and David Montgomery. So I think there's a massive jump there.
Wow.
And if you can, like I said, whenever I'm proposing trades in Dynasty, I always kind of base it off of a trade value chart or something, because it's the worst thing in the world when you're trying to look at it and you're just trying to aimlessly throw trades out there. You got to throw something that looks like it's kind of fair. So I do use that. Obviously, I have my own opinions. I don't just use those and basically just trade off the numbers, but I look at those when I'm trying to see how guys are kind of valued, so I know what I need to offer in that way. So you can definitely use those different tools to your advantage. But yeah, let's move on from Fournette. Zach, you're up with your next player here.
Yeah, so he's no longer the tight end one for the first time in 6 seasons, which, again, when we say we're selling players, doesn't mean we don't absolutely love them as players and potentially want them on a redraft. But right now, the value, you got to get rid of Travis Kelce. He's only 5 months older than Gronk, and Gronk's held together by gum and tinfoil. So, with all the up-and-coming tight ends, it seems Travis Kelce's like part of that wave of guys that are kind of shifting in the fantasy realm, that you were just every year commodity. You were like, people say take him in the first round in some years. And he's been incredible. And I was just doing some research on him. He's never scored a touchdown against the Panthers. So he's got that going for him. But I think while he still has the name value and, again, he could still have a good season next year. But, first season, he's not the tight end one. So clearly there's a decline. And he's being 32 years old. People have seemed to not figure out Mahomes, but it seems they kind of simmered the flame a little bit to the point where he's not really setting the world on fire as much. So you're just looking at an overall decline, and age plays a factor to everybody eventually. And again, I don't know if his value will be any higher than it is right now. So yeah, I say trade away Travis Kelce, get yourself Pat Freiermuth and a first round pick or something.
Yeah, that's definitely an option. There's a couple tight ends who I think are valued higher right now. Obviously Kyle Pitts, Kittle. I think Kittle is 3 years younger than Kelce, so that's definitely a big thing there. So there's definitely some value you can get out of Kelce, especially, go to that guy who is, top, who just hasn't quite won yet. Look at their tight end positions, and I bet you there's going to be guys up there who need a tight end to try and compete next year, and that's the guy you go trade Travis Kelce to. So, yeah, for me, if I'm at the top and, Travis Kelce might be the reason I win, I'm probably holding Kelce. But unless I get a young tight end, as you said, if I get Pat Freiermuth, if I get, Dawson Knox isn't quite as big a name. I need more with Dawson Knox. But if I get a Dawson Knox, a Dallas Goedert in return, if I'm trading away Travis Kelce and I don't have a good tight end on my bench, if I'm trying to compete, I definitely want to make sure I get a younger or at least a decent tight end for this year. But yeah, I definitely look to trade away Kelce off the name value. You're going to be able to get some crazy offers. I'm quite sure you are. What are your thoughts, Will?
Yeah, the Chiefs, it's just, I hate to say it, but typical Andy Reid. He gets the Super Bowl and he won with the Chiefs, unlike Philly. and then it's that gradual decline as he doesn't really adapt, And now I think Mahomes helps him adapt because Mahomes is chaos in the pocket, right? I mean, he just creates pressure on the defense all the time. But even that playoff game with that second half against the Bengals, if you were a Chiefs fan, you have to be sitting there thinking, was this just a meltdown in the half, or is this a sign of things to come that we couldn't do anything in that from that last series before halftime through the second half? And remember, the Bengals at that second half, right? They went to 8 guys. They rushed 3. Nah, we don't believe you're disciplined enough to run the ball on us.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, there was that. What was that? Coverage. All the defenses were using this year. Something cover something. I don't know what it was, but they were basically saying they kind of figured out the Chiefs' passing attack.
They're playing. You just don't blitz Patrick Mahomes is really what teams did this year.
Right. And that kind of goes hand in hand with Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
So it's. I was really shocked to know that he was really only 5 months younger than Gronk. It feels like they're two totally different. People are surprised Gronk's still moving. And Kelce was doing what he was doing. So, but yeah, get out while the getting's good. That's what I say.
Yeah, and that's definitely a common theme from guys that we've seen brought up here. And they're not old yet because once a player gets old, he doesn't have much trade value in your dynasty league. But they're guys who are getting older that you want to try and sell high on. Guys who have value now that might not have value in a year or two from now. But as I said, look at your team construction. If you're bottom team, there should be no reason why you should have a guy like Travis Kelce on your roster anymore because you're not going to compete this year. You got to start getting younger. So dynasty trades come down a lot to your team construction. With that being said, Will, let's introduce your next player.
Look, I'm all about. I'm gonna preface this because some people may think I'm crazy when I say this name, but look, I got to move Alvin Kamara if he's on my roster. The instability with the Saints is making me nervous at multiple positions. I'm not sure what's going on with the coaching search. There's a lot of turmoil in that team. Even with a new coach, there's $70 million over the cap, $75 million over the cap as of today.
Yikes.
There's just no way to get out of this. So they're going to pay the piper. So if I was the Saints, I would trade Kamara. I don't know what the cap is, but it can't be much worse than being $75 million over. But that whole situation in New Orleans just makes me nervous. And I don't think Sean Payton's an idiot. I think Sean Payton realized this is going to be a cluster F, and let me get out of this because I don't want it to ruin my record.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so if I can get someone to give me a first-round pick and a player or two for Kamara, which I do think he's worth, I'm definitely moving him right now. I'm not holding him anymore.
Yep, for sure. He's one of those guys that you can start to see the idea of that maybe his best days are most likely behind him. What you're thinking of when you think of Alvin Kamara is not what you're probably going to receive in the future for the next couple of years. He most likely will be a Pro Bowler, at least for one more year, I think. But like we said earlier, it's, getting out while you can. You don't want to get out on a guy like Alvin Kamara. But the one thing is, like, what do they do with Michael Thomas? Like, what happens, with that team just overall? Like, do they do anything at quarterback? Why was Kevin James casted as Sean Payton in a Netflix movie? There's so many questions around the Saints. So I totally agree.
See, this is tough for me because I love Kamara as a player. I've loved him since he came out. And, as you said, the coaching situation, the Saints do have a lot of money tied up in their offensive line. So that is something that does benefit him. Another thing that benefits him is Sean Payton's leaving. As much as you may say that doesn't benefit him, Sean Payton managed Kamara very well when it came to how much time he actually spent on the field. Kamara's never been an 80% of the time on the field, so I think that bodes well for him lasting a little bit longer. So I think you get 2-3 more years out of him as a starting running back. And then after that, I think he could still be, play a James White role on a team where he could still have some value.
Yeah.
So I think if you can get like high value for Alvin Kamara, if you can get top 3 running back value for Alvin Kamara, that's definitely something I would look into. But if you're going to be, I'd need at least, a first, a second, and then a couple players, something in that range for me.
You should be in
I think
two
you can get
modes.
that.
All be in 2 modes. Be in rebuild if you're not competing. If you're really good, then you're winning for now. You're doing whatever you can, getting all those little. Alvin Kamara falls in that category. Get that last running back, that last flex piece you need. And then if you're the guy, you're struggling, get as much as you can. Get those draft picks. 2023, get. If you're gonna get future draft picks, there's a wave of talent coming through in the next 2 drafts, I believe. So,
yeah, I think so as well. But yeah, I need top 3 running back value to get rid of Kamara. I think you can get it depending on who's in your league. But with the questions at the coaching staff, I think that might prohibit you from getting that value. In which case, I think you hold and trade him next year after he has a massive game. Because without Sean Payton there, I bet you Kamara is on the field more. And if he's on the field more, he's going to get the ball in his hands more. So we've seen him put up 6 touchdowns in a game before. I don't think we'll see that because Drew Brees isn't there anymore, but we'll see the targets and everything. So I definitely think if you can't get the value for him this offseason, you look at it during the season, trade him to a guy who's, maybe didn't think they were going to be competing. That's kind of their team is kind of turned around. So that's definitely an avenue I would look for. But I see both sides of the story. There's situations where I'd want Kamara, and there's situations like if I'm in a rebuilding team, Kamara is probably not the option I want. But he's got some things going for him that other running backs probably don't. But let's move on to my most controversial pick. I'm going to be throwing out a guy who is a top 3 in most dynasty rankings at the wide receiver position, coming off one of the best wide receiver seasons we've ever seen from a player. I'm talking about Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is a guy I am looking to move if I'm not competing. Even if I am competing, I think you can get extreme value for Cooper Kupp right now. There will not be a situation where his value is higher than it is right now, coming off of, as I said, one of the best wide receiver seasons we've ever seen. Stafford will be back next year for sure, so there's not really any questions when it comes to that. He's going to be involved next year. I think he's 28 years old, so he'll probably be 29 come next season. Not super young, not super old at the wide receiver position. Wide receivers tend to last longer than running backs, but that is still getting up there. He has had where he's missed some games with injuries. And like I said, I don't think there's ever been a time where his value is being higher, and I don't think there ever will be a time where his value is higher. So I think you can trade him. You could probably turn him into a Jalen Waddle plus. You could turn him into, CeeDee Lamb plus. There's a lot of younger guys at the wide receiver position. You could probably trade Cooper Kupp and a little bit and get a guy like Justin Jefferson, or even, probably not Jamar Chase, just because whoever owns Jamar Chase is definitely not going to want to get rid of him. But I definitely think you could capitalize on a Justin Jefferson trade for Cooper Kupp. Or maybe if you need, depth at another position, you go out and get a nice young running back.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, if I have Cooper Kupp on my dynasty team, I'm definitely looking to move him for high value. I'm not looking to move him if you can't get the value for him. He's a guy who's going to help you win games. But I can't imagine having Cooper Kupp on my roster and letting him sit there. And in a few years, we look back and be like, bro, I could have had 2 first-round picks and a player, and that'd just be tough. What do you guys think?
Well, as someone who has a best friend that's a Steelers fan, having to watch Minkah Fitzpatrick absolutely ball out every year is really tough to see. So just be careful when we, trade guys away. Granted, it's completely different because it's fantasy football and he's a safety. But like, you'd hate to trade Cooper Kupp away and he has maybe just like a little less of a season next year. So that would be the only caveat. You're absolutely right. If you don't get the right value for trading him, don't do it. Even if you're not a competing team, you may not be competing right now, but who knows what happens in the offseason and guys go to different teams. Someone you have right now that's valued as a second string running back could be the starter once free agency and the draft is done. So with a guy like Cooper Kupp, his ceiling is so high, and that the point total is so crazy. Clearly, it'll be nearly impossible to replicate. So you're absolutely correct. There will be, there won't be a time where his value is higher.
And then, Bobby Tree's coming back next year. Odell has said he's interested in re-signing, so that's a crowded wide receiver room.
Yeah,
and
really
Stafford's older.
Stafford, right? Stafford's there.
So
Stafford's only has 1 year left on his contract, and if he wins the Super Bowl, there's no way he's playing for $12 million next year. We can all agree on that. There's no way. If they win the Super Bowl and he's the MVP, that salary is going to go. Even if you play games with a cap, it's still going to go up over 20. They're already 13 million over. I think Woods probably gets cut, because I think if they cut Woods,
I don't think they can cut Woods. Woods is crucial to that team. There's no way Woods isn't on that roster.
Well, how crucial is he? He's not playing, and they're in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But
I'd rather keep OBJ than Woods. If I have to choose right now, it's the Rams. I'm keeping OBJ.
Odell, yeah, of course, me too.
I think they keep Woods. Woods is that locker room guy. Even that he's not been playing, but he's played a crucial role. You hear the way Cooper Kupp's been talking about him, everything he's done for him. I think McVay is that kind of guy. I think Stafford will play for $12 million next year. Stafford's made his money in Detroit. He's here to win Super Bowl rings, and I really think that's what he cares about. So I know, Will, you do not like Stafford. I know it's probably
it's not like
much to see Stafford.
Look, I think as fans, I think we get unrealistic sometimes by asking these guys to think that these guys are going to play for $12 million when they know their worth to their family is $40 million. That's not the way. I think fans are delusional about that. Matthew Stafford's going to get taken care of after this offseason. Now, the cap may not show it, but he's going to get like a redo deal with $30 or $40 million signing bonus, and they may smooth it a little bit, and maybe his cap number only goes from 12 to 15. But if anybody thinks Matthew Stafford is not holding out unless he gets a new deal, he's not playing under the last year of his contract for $12 million. That's not happening.
Yeah, I can see them signing an extension where they backload it, and then if he gets his guaranteed money in that, whether he plays or doesn't play, he's going to get that money.
But to the point of Cooper Kupp is, I think you're hitting the nail on the head though with Kupp. Kupp's not going to play under that same deal either. Are you really going to? If you're Cooper Kupp and you just set a record, are you really going to play for what you're scheduled to play for next year? When the cap is going up, I mean, there's teams out there sitting on $100 million in cap space, right? And I think the Rams. There was an interesting story today about some of the TV networks have approached McVay about joining the TV networks. And there's been some talk about maybe McVay may take a 25 or 30, a Romo-like deal to leave for a couple years and then come back. I don't, I think Sean Payton might be more of a common thing coming in coaching now. You see your team went all in on the cap. It's now planning to pay that cap price. I think some of these coaches are going to be like, you know what, I'll just leave for a couple years, make some money on TV, and then come back in. This year is going to be so interesting from the NFL perspective, and it'll affect fantasy because these Ram players, they're going to win, and then they'll have their parade if they win, but then everybody's going to be sitting there talking about, hey, I need to get paid.
And Cooper Kupp's getting paid. Cooper Kupp's going to cap it at $18 million next year and $18 million 2023. So it's not like he's not going to be getting paid. Sure, it won't be the top money, but I think $20 million a year for a wide receiver is still amazing. So I don't think that'll be the problem. But I said, if you could capitalize on Cooper Kupp's value right now, capitalize on Cooper Kupp's value, get rid of him, get younger. I'm not necessarily looking for draft picks. I'm looking for younger players in that trade. But Zach's next pick, I don't necessarily agree with at this moment. But go ahead, Zach.
Fine. Yeah, fine. No, I'll just keep it to myself then. No, it did DK Metcalf. It's funny because him and Tyler Lockett, they finished back to back, and it's like, what? It's like they were both top 20 wide receivers, and you're like, in what league? And it was 2 different seasons for both wide receivers. Tyler Lockett was nowhere to be found in the beginning, and then towards the end, you were probably pretty happy with Tyler Lockett on your team. Definitely weren't too thrilled with DK Metcalf, but he did come through Russell battling the finger injury. So that definitely has something to do with it. But if Russ is out of town, if Pete's out of town, if they stay, I still think get rid of DK Metcalf. Another guy with name value still. And it's just, I don't know. It's one of those players that I personally am staying away from in redraft leagues. Maybe I'm just being a little too pessimistic, but I don't know. I just feel like that team is a little in turmoil. I don't know.
See, I get what you're saying, but he's only 24. He's uber talented. You can't deny that. The size, the speed, and everything he's got. He's got that all going for him. As you say, he's 24. Whether Russ stays or Russ leaves, to me, that was he finished as in standard the wide receiver 11. That was probably the most annoying wide receiver 11 finish we've ever seen.
Right.
So, to me, he's kind of, depending on who has him in my league, he's almost a buy low candidate at this point. Because I believe in the talent. I believe in the player. And to me, in Dynasty with a younger guy, that's what I want. I'd rather have him over a lot of the wide receivers coming in the draft. I'd rather have him over a lot of guys, maybe with uncertain, maybe they have the situation, but they don't have the talent. Because to me, the talent at the end of the day is going to win out.
Yep. And I think you're right. And he's another one of those guys I would consider as like a package name. It sounds sounds sexy to get a DK Metcalf in a trade. And while he's all those points you just made could be used in your favor too, right? To say why you want to trade him away. Be like, hey, go to that guy and be like, dude, he's only 24. It's like, he's look at him. He's out there in his fluorescent tights. Like he looks really good, and you could probably dress that up to the right team and maybe cash out before things go south. I think DK Metcalf is a physical specimen. I don't believe he's a long-lasting superstar in the NFL, and that could come back to bite me. But there's just something about him. I can see him taking an Allen Robinson career route.
Does Pete Carroll being the coach still make you nervous? Like they had a chance. My gut was they had a chance to make a change, and they didn't. Now I don't know about y'all, but I feel like the Seattle's pushed the change back 1 year. Like the change is going to happen next year, and I wonder if you guys think that hurts DK's value because you're maybe looking 2 years away for him being with a new system, with a new coach, maybe a new quarterback, where he could put up those really big number one wide receiver numbers you want.
Yep.
But if Russ comes back, he's got that ability next year to do that.
Yeah.
Like anytime he's on the field, he's probably better than whoever's lining up across from him. He's bigger than whoever's lining up across from him. That's for sure. So I don't know. I think I can see the argument for trying to sell high, but to me, he's almost. I would be looking to buy DK Metcalf if you know that the DK Metcalf owner in your league is disgruntled with him. He's upset after that roller coaster of a season. Maybe he's worried about Russ leaving. In that entire situation. So I don't know. That one kind of sticks with me. I'm like,
if we knew exactly if these were good or not, we would have we'd have unlimited trophies from all we win every year, So I'm sure there's been guys in the past that we've sold high on and we're like, there's no way they can do this again. And then, everyone last year, one of my other picks was Derrick Henry. A lot of people were, fade Derrick Henry last year. And that looked really dumb in the first, 8 weeks. Throughout the whole season, he still finished a top 15 running back, and he didn't even play the game. So it's like, it goes either way.
Dynasty, you'll either look really smart or you look really dumb. You usually don't come out of a trade and both sides win. Right. Because, that's just not how things work. And to me, the whole point of playing Dynasty is to win championships. If you finish second every year, you don't gain anything from that, right? So look at your team before you decide what to do with a guy like DK Metcalf. But let's move on to Will's last pick that I 100% agree with.
That's good because I thought that was my biggest outlier, Zach, it's Davante Adams. And look, it was the story this week that they said he wants $30 million a year.
I saw that. That was hilarious.
No,
what?
He wants $30 million a year.
He's not Cooper Kupp.
he's not a quarterback, bro. Quarterbacks are the only ones making $30 million a year.
Good quarterbacks.
Right. I mean, that's 15, 20% of the cap, depending on your team.
Yeah.
So to me, it looks like he wants out of Green Bay because he must know Aaron's leaving.
Yeah.
Because that's a hell of a statement to make. That put Green Bay in a bind.
Yeah.
Right. And it reduces their leverage. And it tells me he doesn't want them to tag him. He wants to be a free agent. He wants to pick where he wants to go and not get traded.
Yeah, because he wants to go wherever Aaron Rodgers is going to go.
Or whatever,
Yeah.
So that scares me, man. That is a guy who's already positioning himself like that.
Mm-hmm. And he's going to be 30 come next year. He'll be 30. And, Aaron Rodgers came out and said that he wants MVS and Davante Adams to be wherever he lands next year, whether or not he gets that or not. It depends on where he goes, the cap space situation. I think Adams will sign for less than $30 million if he's signing somewhere with Aaron Rodgers. He'll definitely sign for a little bit less. But, you could see him go to a team with a lot of cap and sign for a $25+ million a year deal.
Dolphin.
Would you be okay paying Davante Adams $27 million a year
to tank?
Yeah.
We'll pay him $27,000 a game to drop the balls. No, I mean I agree with you, Will. And the biggest comparison I see here with Davante Adams' career is DeAndre Hopkins, where he may go on to a second team, and we might overlook how good he still is. And we kind of did that when DeAndre Hopkins went to the Cardinals that first year, and he was still just as good. And now he's a little bit older. You can probably see the decline start to come. I think Davante Adams probably following exactly in that his footsteps, especially if he goes to another team. It'll be almost like a mirror career of each other, and they almost kind of play similar. They have the crazy catchability. It's kind of the change, the changing of the guards, and Davante Adams is kind of on the back end of that. He's still young enough to where I think he's still valuable to give you points every week on a team. But again, he fits that category of his value clock is ticking, and you might as well cash out.
Yeah, trade him to whoever's high in your league.
Yep,
because he'll be fantasy relevant no matter where he lands. He's got the best footwork in the NFL when it comes to getting open off routes. He doesn't have to use his hands. He just uses his feet, and he will get open. That's something that I think benefits him long term because he doesn't have to be super physical. That footwork will stay with him. People, known to develop their footwork as their career goes on. But, if he's not with Aaron Rodgers, he's not putting up anywhere near.
Yeah. He's a sentimental player to a lot of people, me included, because 2 years ago, this past fantasy season, but the one before, in the championship game, he single-handedly won people, or it was either the last playoff game before the championship, in that snow game. He had like 4 touchdowns or just something crazy, and just carried people to a championship. So you can kind of use that as a token. Be like, hey man, you find that sentimental owner in the league, or like,
find the Rodgers owner and be like,
right, exactly. Yeah, keep them together. Last dance.
The scary thing would be him, because Cincinnati has a ton of cap space. The scary thing would be is putting him with Jamar Chase. That would be like.
Yeah, but they got Higgins and Boyd there.
Yeah, but
wide receiver is not where they need to upgrade. They need to
they are 60 million under. They're 60 million under the cap.
They need to invest all 60 million of that in their offensive line, or Joe Burrow will not make it to have this career that he will be injured again next year. It's a miracle.
Get 2 linemen and still have.
They need 5.
Million.
They need 5 linemen.
5.
They need an entire new line. They need 5 of them. So they need to spend that 60 million on all 5 of their new offensive linemen. That's my recommendation.
It's true. They got Jonah Williams back, and they're like, they still need to massively upgrade the offensive line. So they have to know that's what they do. Like they have to do that.
Actually, after taking Jamar Chase last year, in the draft, it worked out for them, and sure,
they got lucky. They got lucky.
They got lucky.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow's made it this far through the season,
right?
Because he got sacked 9 times in that Titans game.
Yeah,
that's unreal. I feel so bad that he's had to endure, especially coming off an ACL tear last year.
Yeah.
So
come back and be abused.
Are we saying to sell Joe Burrow? Is he a bonus player?
I don't know. The Bengals are the Bengals. They're gonna bungle, right? So they'll probably screw up this offensive line. Oh, he might be a trade high, especially in Superflex League.
Yep.
You could get the moon and the stars for Joe Burrow right now.
Davante Adams brought us to Joe Burrow.
Yeah. Will connected the dots there and brought us to selling high on Joe Burrow.
It would be fun.
Yeah, it would be fun. But when who's even the Bengals' backup quarterback right now? He's throwing to Davante Adams and Jamar Chase. I don't think that's quite as impressive as Joe Burrow throwing to the two of them because
Well, the funny thing is it's great, and I'm looking forward. I don't know about y'all, but I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl. I think it's going to be a good game. But you talk about Cincinnati, if that Ram defense just owns the line of scrimmage, right? Then you kind of know what Cincinnati is forced to do. They're going to have to go all in on offensive line, right? Because that'll be the fix. But if Cincinnati wins that game, woo!
I think the offensive line is going to be the reason that they lose the game because the Rams have Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, and
I saw that report
Titans are putting up 9 sacks. I think. Okay, so I'm a Panthers fan, and this Bengals team right now, they could have the whole Cam Newton getting absolutely beat up in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and that's the reason why they lose because their offensive line just cannot keep up. The Panthers that year were extremely explosive on offense.
Yeah.
They didn't have the big names at the wide receiver position that the Bengals do,
Yeah.
but the offensive line was their weak spot, and we saw that get absolutely exposed by Von Miller in the Super Bowl. And I think that happens again. I think that happens to the Bengals this year.
Yeah.
I think Von Miller has another great game in the Super Bowl. Aaron Donald, what they're going to put 2 on him almost every snap, or he's going to destroy. And when you put 2 on him, Von Miller and Leonard Floyd off the edge. I don't think there's a way this is a good matchup for the Bengals.
I think the team with the quarterback wearing number 9 is going to win. So
I think so too, because
that's a great call.
Joe Burrow might not even make it to the end of the game, so it'll be Matt Stafford the only number 9 on the field.
Let's not hope for that. I would like to watch a game at least think
he was getting the joke as it was happening.
Yeah, I want to see a good Super Bowl. I think we could see a good Super Bowl.
So, Will, who are you taking?
Okay, I'm gonna go with the Rams.
Wow.
Zach, you're going Rams?
Yeah.
I'm going Bengals, man.
Okay.
I'm surprised Will didn't take the Bengals, to be honest.
I want to.
They came out of that tough division. I think Jamar Chase really is special. I can't wait to see him just light up Jalen Ramsey.
Ooh.
See, I don't know. That's another matchup I'm not loving for the Bengals. Jalen Ramsey, he's got the veteran savviness.
I don't know.
And he's the best corner in the league.
Some could argue.
I want to see what they.
It's gonna be a great Super Bowl. I'm excited just that we're talking about
Jalen Ramsey because he's been playing a lot in the slot this year, so maybe he doesn't even end up on Jamar Chase.
So here's the real question: who's MVP of the game?
Joe Burrow.
Aaron Donald.
Odell Beckham.
I'm so sick of Aaron Donald winning MVPs and winning Defensive Player.
Aaron Donald. It's gonna be
TJ Watt.
I think it'll be a defensive player if the Rams win. And I'm just looking at the way that offensive line goes. It's going to be Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, or Aaron Donald because I think they're going to be the guys that are making the plays. One of them will probably get strip sack if the Rams win. They could literally just slants and everything, quick passing game. That's what the Bengals need to do.
Yeah.
But as soon as Burrow's sitting back in the pocket for 3-4 seconds, he's going to be under pressure. So maybe it's Maybe it's Odell. I like that pick. Do I?
Oh man, the ultimate redemption for
That'd be
Odell.
amazing. That'd be amazing if it was Odell.
Oh
Especially
man,
since I got him thrown into a dynasty trade because the owner did not want him. I was like, well, if you just throw in Odell, that would send his dynasty value
throw him
through
in.
the roof. Yeah, he was like, which one of these guys do you want? And I was like, Odell, Jameson Crowder. Give me Odell, please.
nice. Yeah,
But
it's gonna be a good game.
will be.
I think Joe Burrow gets it done. I think he's the real deal, man. I mean, coming off that injury, he's so cool. He's so good under pressure, man. It's just I think it's gonna be enough to get it done.
It's just a cautionary tale with these teams that get hot for 1 year. The Panthers, the Falcons. You see these teams, amazing MVP candidate quarterback, and then Super Bowl comes along and
hey, Joe Burrow's hopping on that fumble. That's all I'm saying. He's
probably, but that's how you get hurt. And
seems so long ago.
Yeah, what was that? 2015, 7 years ago.
Sheesh. Yep.
The only thing that scares me about the Rams is Matthew Stafford. It just
the only thing that scares me about the Rams is that Cam Akers might fumble the ball 2 times at the end of the game.
He had to give up his carrying ability to the Achilles gods so he could play again. Yeah.
I don't know. They
trade off.
Sony Michel needs to be on the field more in clutch situations.
Mm-hmm.
He's a better pass blocker, and he's not going to fumble the ball. He played with Bill Belichick for too long to know that you fumble the ball, you stop playing. So he will not be fumbling the ball. But I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great game. Should be a Super Bowl for the ages, hopefully.
Well, look, at least we have another week to think about our picks, and next week
we do. Yeah. Next week we'll end the show with the same discussion. Maybe we'll get Jeff involved here. We'll see what Jeff picks. Maybe nice. I would, to be honest, I think Jeff probably picked the Bengals. I think he would.
He's gonna pick the Seahawks, subbing in for the Bengals.
Yeah, I was gonna say he did not pick he's not an NFC West.
He's not gonna pick the Rams.
Yeah, exactly. So he'll pick the Bengals. So we'll be split unless Will or I change your mind. Maybe Zach, he's like, yeah, this Rams defensive line is absolutely going to eat Burrow alive. Maybe Zach switches his pick. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you guys for joining. And I want to thank everyone for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Definitely stay tuned. We're putting out a lot of new content over the offseason. We're going to have some dynasties, some early top 10s coming out soon. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure always, every Friday, the show will be posted. So you're not going to want to miss any episodes. And like I said, follow me on Instagram at Pro Football Craze Media MPC, and follow Zach on Instagram at Ocean State FF. You can also find him on Twitter. So yeah, thanks guys, and see you next week.
Thanks, Zach.
Let's go. Justice for Coach Flo.
Yeah.